All right, so hopefully by this point you've utilized the link in the description of this video to visit my website and obtain the tablature for the arrangement that we're going over today. And so first thing we'll notice on the sheet is it does give you 2 bits of information. It gives you the chord progression, but then also it gives you a very specific tablature for a solo guitar arrangement of this piece, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. The chords will help guide us here and there, but we're not strictly going to be playing the chords in their open form or their most basic form. They will be rearranged in one way or another to match the melody. Notice too, the time signature for the piece is 6/8. So meaning there will be 6 beats in a measure, an eighth note gets 1 beat, but since we're dealing with tablature, we really only care that there's 6 beats in a measure. So looking at the beginning here, first it says B minor 7, and upon closer inspection of the tablature, we see that's exactly what it is. B minor 7 at the 2nd fret in the A formation. So your first finger is going to be barred on the top 5 strings, fret 2. Then your 3rd finger is going to come in on fret 4 of string 4, and your 2nd finger on fret 3 of string 2. So that's your B minor 7 in the A formation. You're going to use your placement, PIMA, on the middle 4 strings. So place on strings 5, 4, 3, and 2, just in regular order. And then we're going to lift one at a time using free stroke. And then come back down with the same fingers you went up with, which is the hard part, because it's easy doing an ascending arpeggio with the placement, but then on your way back down, you sort of have to replace sequentially. So the whole first measure would sound something like this. Notice there was 6 notes, 6 beats. Moving on to achieve the next measure, E minor, I'm simply going to take my first finger and move it up 1 string to the 2nd fret of string 4, being that we don't need string 5 in this voicing. I'm going to use the same placement, except P is going to come down to string 6. And then for the next measure, for A minor, we're just use your basic open formation, place again on the middle 4 strings. And then for D7, pivot on your first finger, basic open formation, and place on the top 4 strings. So this opening sequence sounds something like this. All right, guys, good thing to keep in mind when you're arranging a piece in this way or when you're working on an arrangement like this. Usually what's going on is we're changing the chord voicings to achieve a different highest sounding note. We're usually trying to put the melody in the top voice, which is exactly what I did here. And so we see at measure 5, our first melody note is going to be fret 3 of string 1. So we get to play just a regular open G chord. I'm going to place P on string 6 and I, M, and A on strings 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to move up, play B minor at fret 7 using technically the E formation. First finger is going to bar all 6 strings. 4th finger is going to come in on fret 10 of string 1. I'm going to use the same placement. And then I'm going to go down. We're going to play an open E minor chord. And this time our pinky is going to get fret 3 of string 1. Notice that time I strummed the whole chord. We're going to go first finger to fret 5, use our rest stroke and alternation, fret 5 of string 1. 3rd finger is going to get fret 7, all perfectly in position. That leaves your pinky to get fret 8 as your first finger moves to bar the top 3 strings. Your P is going to place on string 5, I, M, and A on strings 1, 2, and 3. And then now to get this new G voicing, we're going to move our pinky down 1 fret to fret 7. And then our first finger is going to stretch down to fret 3 of string 6. And we're going to do, we're going to place P on string 6, I, M, and A on strings 1, 2, and 3. And then for our D7 voicing, our first finger is going to bar the top 3 strings at fret 5. 3rd finger is going to come down onto fret 7 of string 2, and we're going to place on the top 4 strings. Now we're going to take our 4th finger and come down to fret 3 of string 2. So go ahead and rest stroke, 4th finger, fret 3, string 2. It's important to use your fourth finger because it frees up your other three fingers to just fall down into the shape of an open C chord. So we can kick off measure 13 by strumming your open C. Then using your first finger as an anchor finger, pivot on that first finger to form an open D7 chord and give that a strum, all reflected in the tablature. And then from here, we're going to play an open E minor chord, but when we take a look at the tablature, we see we're adding the third fret of string 1, just like we did in measure 7. So use your pinky to get that third fret of string 1 and give that a good strum. And then now we're going to take our first finger and we're going to bar the top 3 strings at fret 5. And I'm going to place P on string 5 and then index, I, M, and A on strings 1, 2, and 3. And go ahead and play the chord. And then staying in position, our third finger can land on fret 7 of string 1. Give that a rest stroke. And then fourth finger still in position, going to go on fret 8 of string 1. And then so now to get to the next chord, we're going to do the same sort of motion we did from measure 9 to measure 8. Your fourth finger is going to go down 1 fret to fret 7 of string 1. And then your first finger is going to stretch down to fret 3 of string 6. This time placement's going to be a little bit different though. We're going to do an arpeggio instead of a chord. So I want you to place P on string 6 and then A on string 1. And we're going to play those outside notes first. And then we're going to place P, I, and M on strings 4, 3, and 2. And we're going to ascend and descend just like in the beginning. And then now we're going to go back to our familiar D7 voicing that we did at fret 5 earlier. So first finger is going to bar the top 3 strings at fret 5. And then your third finger is going to play fret 7 of string 2. And then we're going to do the exact same arpeggio pattern that we just did, except this time P is going to start on string 5. So we're going to go P on string 5, A on string 1. So play the outside notes. And then P, I, M, and A are going to place on 4, 3, and 2 and ascend and descend. And then now to an open G chord as reflected in the tablature. Place the same exact arpeggio pattern. Place P and A on the outside strings. And then P, I, and M on 4, 3, and 2, ascend and descend. And then now to kind of round off this section, we're going to place P on string 6, I, M, and A on 4, 3, and 2. We're going to play that arpeggio. And then I and M back on 4 and 3. So that whole section from 17 to 20 would sound something like this. So that's the basic arpeggio pattern we're going to follow throughout the arrangement. So now at measure 21, we're still on our open G chord. We do the outside, and then P, I, and M on the inside, strings, 4, 3, and 2. Measure 22, we're going up to B minor at the 7th fret again, just like in measure 6. First finger bars fret 7. Pinky is going to get fret 10 of string 1. But this time we do need to fill out the middle a little bit. Our third finger is going to get fret 7 of string 4. And we're going to do outside, inside. And then now we're doing another E minor with our pinky on fret 3 of string 1 again. Notice how my pinky didn't leave string 1. I just let it fly all the way down there. And this time the arpeggio pattern is going to be the same as in measure 20. We're going to kind of redo 2 of the notes. So it goes outside, and then P, I, M, I, M. And then the reason why we double up on those open strings is because hopefully while you were doing that, your pinky was creeping up to fret 12 to hit the harmonics. So I'm just going to play for you in time really quick that sequence from 21 to the harmonics. Notice how I took advantage of the extra open strings to move my hand up toward the harmonics as I was plucking the open strings. Now at this point, we're going to go back into 5th position, take our first finger to fret 5 of string 1, and then third finger, fret 7, just like before. This is going to be the same essential voicing from measure 9. So pinky will be fret 8 of string 1, and then index is going to bar the top 3 strings at fret 5. However, this time, once again, we're going to have to fill out the middle a little bit. So third finger is going to come down and get fret 7 of string 4. And then same arpeggio pattern we've been doing. So outside, and then inside with P, I, and M. And then it's going to be the same exact motion to get to this G voicing that we've done twice before already. Pinky's going to come down to fret 7. Index is going to come down to fret 3 of string 1. And we're going to do outside. And then P, I, and M are going to be placed on strings 4, 3, and 2. And then now we're at measure 27. And we're going to go back to our D7 voicing at fret 5. So with our first finger barring the top 3 strings at fret 5, and our third finger on fret 7 of string 2. And we're going to do our outside notes are actually going to be strings 5 and 1. So that way we can do 3 different middle notes. And then now to end off this measure, we're going to skip string 4 and do 5 and then 4. Because that's the note that we want to sound out is the D. We want to hear that throughout the next measure. Now, same as before, we're going to take our fourth finger, our pinky, to play fret 3 of string 2. Rest stroke that for me. Sounds good. And then your first fingers, or your other 3 fingers, are available to fall down in the open C formation for measure 29. But this time we're going to observe our arpeggio pattern. So outside with P and A, and then the middle notes with P, I, and M, and then pivot to D7, open D7, outside strings 5 and 1 with P and A, then the middle notes, and then E minor with fourth finger playing fret 3 of string 1 on top. In fact, this measures exactly the same as measure 23. And once again, take advantage of playing those open strings and move your finger to bar fret 5 as that portion is going on. First finger bars top 3 strings at fret 5. Placement P on string 5, I, M, and A on strings 1, 2, and 3. And then just like we've done in the past, third finger is going to play fret 7 in position. But this time in between fret 7 and 8, we're going to hit another bass note. We're going to use P to get open string 6, and then we're going to get fret 8 with our pinky. Creates a nice little bass function going on there. And now, just like before, remember most of the patterns, formations, movements are going to be reoccurring in this. It'll happen once and then it'll just keep happening over and over and over again. So just like before, we're going to take our fourth finger and slide it down to fret 7 of string 1 as our first finger is coming on down to fret 3 of string 6. And we're going to do our outside with P and A. And then we're going to take P, I, and M to the middle, to strings 4, 3, and 2. And then this sequence already happened at 17, 18, and 19. So 33 is the same as 17. 34 is going to be the same as 18. And then 35 is going to be the same as 19. Now the next measure is sort of different as a turnaround to the bridge section. Keeping your G formation down in your left hand, your right hand P, I, and M are going to place on strings 5, 4, and 3. And so arpeggiate that. And then place the same 3 fingers, P, I, and M, on strings 6, 5, and 4, and arpeggiate that. And then that's going to kind of lead us into the next section of the song. Now in this next section of the piece, it might be a little bit difficult to get the melody to stand out. This is probably one of the more difficult sections of the piece. So what we're going to do is see at measure 37, top of page 2, we're going to go back to our B minor at the 2nd fret, so in the A formation. This is essentially the same chord that we played at the very beginning of the song, measure 1, except in measure 1 it was B minor 7. This time we're just going to do a true triad B minor. So that's going to be first finger is going to bar top 5 strings at fret 2, third finger is going to come down onto fret 4, string 4, and then fourth finger is going to be fret 4, string 3, second finger is going to be fret 3, string 2, and that's your B minor in the A formation. So here's how the arpeggio pattern is going to work this time. So we're going to use P on string 5, and then we're going to take M on string 2, and we're going to do the outside, and then we're going to place P and I on strings 4 and 3. So it should sound something like this. Right? Let me do that portion one more time. And then we're going to place P on string 5, and then I and M on strings 1 and 2, and then do those all in sequence. So the whole measure sounds like this. One more time. And the melody notes, of course, being... So those are the ones that you have to get to stand out, and therein lies the challenge. All right, and then now measure 38 is going to be very similar to measure 23. The only difference being this time with our E minor, we're going to have the open E string on top. First finger will go onto fret 2 of string 4, and we're going to do our P and our A on the outside strings. And then P, I, and M are going to be placed on strings 4, 3, and 2. And we're going to arpeggiate this exactly like we did in measure 23. And then you guessed it, measure 39, exactly the same as 37. And then repeat the same E minor measure again. 41, another repeated measure, same as 37. And then the same E minor measure again. And then here's where it changes up. This is where it gets a little bit difficult. So we're going to put our hand back down in our second position A formation, B minor. And we're going to place P on string 5 and A on string 2. And then notice how this time it wants us to do string 2 twice in a row, right? So watch how I do it. I'm going to play those 2 notes, and then I'm going to come in and get string 2 again with I. Did you see that? Let me do that one more time. So the 2 outside, and then come in with I and get the second string again. And then I'm going to place P and I on strings 4 and 3, and then place again. So that whole measure sounds something like this. Now the next measure is a little bit more straightforward. We're still in our B minor at the 2nd fret in the A formation. This time we're going to place P, I, M, and A on strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. Nice and easy. And then we're going to lift those in sequence. And then notice we're going to do sort of what's been a reoccurring part of the pattern too, is going back and playing the last 2 notes of the arpeggio again. And this time we'll do our best to hit those last 2 notes with M and A, so it should be something like this. One more time for your benefit. And then we go at measure 45 into an open A minor chord. P, I, M, and A all placed on strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. Nice and straightforward. Give us the chord using free stroke. And then now for the arpeggio, we're going to place just like we would for a regular open A minor chord, except P is going to go on string 6 instead of string 5. So P's on string 6, I, M, and A are on strings 4, 3, and 2. And what we're going to do, we're going to play P twice in a row, and it's going to cover 2 strings. Observe. So it's going to get string 6, then 5, then we're going to do the other strings. So measure 45 in its entirety would sound something like this. One more time. And then now measure 46 is going to follow that same pattern, except with an open D7 chord. Notice I pivot on my first finger. My first finger doesn't leave the fretboard. An open D7 chord instead of an open A minor chord. So first we're going to place on the top 4 strings with P, I, M, and A. And then we're going to do the same essential thing that we just did, replace, but your thumb is going to place 1 string lower than it should. So on string 5, and this time your thumb is going to cover 2 strings. So 5, 4, and then the other fingers. One more time with that measure. Now here's measures 45 and 46 for your benefit. And then now I'm going to play the entire sequence from measure 37 to 47. Measures 47 through 62 are exactly the same as measures 21 through 38. So boom, there you go. I did that on purpose. I kept things similar so that it would be easier to learn, so that there would be less to learn. So not only is that true, not only are those measures exactly the same, but once you get to measure 62, there's then a repeat, and you simply return to measure 37 and play 37 through 62 again. And of course, remember, if you're playing this on classical guitar, feel free to change the area of the strings that you're playing on to maybe affect the timbre of the sound to sort of add some variety to the performance. Or also remember, you can get creative with dynamics. I haven't written any dynamics into this. That's all up to the discretion of the performer. And then also too, remember, when you're learning an arrangement like this, the arrangement can really be sort of looked at as a guideline. You know what I mean? This is something just to like spark your imagination to get you started. It's like if you feel up to it, by all means, change the arpeggio patterns, maybe play more chords instead, get creative with it, figure out ways to make it sound different. I just made it so repetitive so that it would be easier to learn in the first place. Okay, awesome, fantastic. So now let's take a look at the ending portion here. So we played up to measure 62, we hit the repeat, we went all the way back to measure 37, and then we played all the way through up to measure 62 again. And so this time, instead of observing the repeat, of course, you blow through it and you continue on with the rest of the music. And so we see now, sort of in an attempt to create a dramatic sounding ending, we are dropping the arpeggio pattern. We're going back to chords. Instead of playing on every beat, we're doing a much more sustained kind of feel here. So we see we've got an open C chord, nice and simple, third finger, third fret of string 5, second finger, second fret of string 4, first finger, first fret of string 2. Go ahead and strum that. And then I'm going to take P and I'm going to play my fret 2 of string 4. And it's important, keep your C formation down while you do that. There will be no need to lift your fingers to find that fret 2. You're already there. So it would sound like this. Right? And then we're going to do that same pivot where we keep our first finger on string 2. Yeah, keep our first finger on string 2, pivot over to your open D7, and it's going to be a similar kind of thing. We can go ahead and strum the top 4 strings. And then this time bring P down to play string 5. And then we're going to do our E minor chord with our 4th finger playing the 3rd fret of string 1 on top. Go ahead and give that a strum. And And in this time, instead of there being one extra note afterwards, there's 3, so they need to be played a little bit quicker. You can get them with P, I, and M if you place on strings 5, 4, and 3. So that sequence of 3, so those 3 measures is going to sound something like this. So it goes. And then we're going to take our first finger back up to fret 5, strings 1, 2, and 3. Go ahead and bar fret 5 on strings 1, 2, and 3. Going to use P on string 5, I, M, and A on strings 1, 2, and 3, just like we've done in the past. In fact, this measure is exactly the same as measure 16. So we're going to go ahead and play the chord. Staying in position, third finger is going to get fret 7 of string 1. Fourth finger will get fret 8 of string 1. And then once again, it's the same transition to this G voicing with the fret 7 on top. So your fourth finger is going to move down from fret 8 to fret 7 on string 1. First finger is going to move down to fret 3 of string 6. And this time, though, the arpeggio pattern's a little bit different. It's more similar to what happens in 65. There's just going to be like 3 extra notes. So we're going to play our outside notes with P and A, and then you're going to place P, I, and M on strings 4, 3, and 2. And let's hear that arpeggio. Nice. Now let's go to our fret 5, technically A formation voicing of D7. So first finger is going to bar fret 5 on strings 1, 2, and 3. Third finger is going to come down on fret 7 of string 2. And we're going to place P on string 5 and then A on string 1, and we're going to play those as our outside notes. And then P, I, and M can go on strings 4, 3, and 2, and let's hear those. And then 69 is going to be exactly the same as measure 21, so it's going to be our open G chord with the outside notes P and A on strings 6 and 1. And then we're going to place P, I, and M on strings 4, 3, and 2. Ascend, and then descend. And then we're going to sort of cap it off with the same thing as measure 36. So we're going to place P, I, and M on strings 5, 4, and 3. Then place P, I, and M on strings 6, 5, and 4. And then we're going to just end it with our thumb, P finger, going to hit fret 3 of string 6. So the whole ending sequence will sound something like this. All right, thank you so much for watching the video. Go ahead and leave a comment telling me what you thought. Constructive criticism is of course welcome, but go easy. This is my first time making an instructional play a song YouTube video, so there you go. I had fun and I love teaching, so I do plan on making more content like this in the near future. So if you're interested in learning more solo guitar arrangements or just how to play the guitar in general, I'm going to have videos talking about bar chords, the cage sequence, positions, all the stuff that I mentioned throughout this video. I'm going to explain in other videos. So if you're interested in content like that, go ahead and hit subscribe, share it with your friends. Make sure you like the video too. And if you really did like the video, if you really enjoyed the lesson, I would appreciate if you headed over to my Patreon account and became a patron. It's because of my patrons that I'm able to make content like this. The more patrons I have, the more instructional content I'll be able to make, because making a video like this does take quite a bit longer than my average performance videos. So definitely the patronage is much appreciated. And so also utilize the link in the description of this video to watch the video of me playing the arrangement in its entirety. So there is a video where I play this arrangement in its entirety. Bear in mind that in the heat of the moment, I might use a different fingering here or there, blah-de-blah, doo-doo-doo, you know how it is. Also, there's a link in the description of this video of me playing this song 7 or 8 months ago quite a bit differently. I actually do it in 4/4 time, and I had all these bells and whistles. But I wanted to include that link too, just to kind of show you guys that when you learn an arrangement like this can be just the beginning. This is just a place to start, and then from there, the sky's the limit, and hopefully you can take this arrangement and make it your own. Just sort of like add your own personal touch to it, and that's kind of what I did in the other video. So I wanted to give you a good example of that. So all that being said, hit subscribe, like, comment, share. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.